Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I've got Sai with me.
Hi, I'm Cyan. I'm once again with Lucid.
Yeah,
Looks like we're
so
seeing, yeah, some last gasp messages from Ulm.
yeah. Anybody else here on the we get a message from Joman. That's exciting. Let's
Yeah,
start with
I mean,
that.
Jomans survived longer. Oh,
Oh my goodness. Peace has
well,
been
that's,
established. Sablecat's a good player, so it's understandable that people would be scared of attacking him, but I feel like he just totally bluffed his way out of this war.
yeah, I think that Shivalba should have killed him. If Shivalba didn't have some sort of, like, I guarantee win death threat that he was just building towards, like the LLPs that I was thinking about, then I think he should have, like, there was no reason not to headshot him then.
Right.
Like, unless the only thing that would make sense here is if Shivalba looks at this and goes, "Okay, I'm going to go all in on Vedheim now," which also doesn't make sense because that's a really hard matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Zabalba's also not on the clock either. But I agree with you. This tells me actually more about the Joman's state of mind that he's probably thinking about doing a higher commitment against Arco. So, I mean, he's probably happy to be out of this thing with Zabalba. I mean, it sounds like Zabalba is getting very good territory out of it.
I mean, yeah, but Joman's getting to live when there's
Right.
no reason that he has to.
So he gets the cave. I mean, this is actually not a horrible border for him. I mean, this is none of the entire 3x3 is going to be his.
Yeah, those are basically the best borders that, or sorry, those are basically the closest borders that Joman gets to acceptable. Like, if Shivalba had demanded anything more, then it gets to the point where
Might as well
war is
kill
going to
me.
be inevitable,
Right.
and the peace is basically just giving Joman some breathing room to go build up and fight him again.
Right.
This is like minimum viable where Joman can actually go fight someone else.
Yeah. So that makes, I mean, it makes sense from the point of view. Like, I think it makes sense for Joman. I think it also, if presumably, and we'll get to actually see what happened here. Do we have a message from Zabalba? We have some
No.
from Vedheim, so let's read. Well, the smash and grab of the Iron Throne worked. We thought carefully about the timing, preparing to do this at an opportune time based on temperature scales and the disposition of forces. Last turn was the final turn before Zabalba's palisade finished. We've had the prophet preaching underneath it, but that wouldn't have been enough to keep the candles from the throne itself out. Since we want to freeze it, we like cold and bats don't, we decided to pull the trigger now. The timing here will let us use the winter to cover the vulnerable period while our palisade is building and before our scales fully spread. The simultaneous attack on 137, coming out of the Mictlan province to the east, was really intended to cut off reinforcements. Cap mage toads can't double move through it and reach the Iron Throne, but it also cut the retreat. The battle was scripted awkwardly since I didn't know what we'd be facing. We had very good scout cover on all this Balba land, but we couldn't see some huge horde of unarmored bats or a massive PD dump. Crossbows would hurt our buff stacks. I woke to a message from the Zabalba player asking for peace where we keep the Iron Throne. I think he knew it was a greed step too far. We wrote back proposing a nap and haven't heard back. So, dude, do you want peace or not? I understand he's a looter and not very talkative, so we'll speak his language. As a show of force, we're de-stealthing a lot of stuff on the Iron Throne province to give him a bit of a brushback, but we're refraining from raiding any further. Zabalba's going into full greed, is going full greed into blood 4 already. How do we know he has blood
Okay,
4? Oh, is that
I
beast
think
bats?
it's the Ocelotls. Ocelotls are blood force summon.
But I thought the word was out that there was the hero. So, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, that might be. They might have a second summon or a second dude doing summoning.
Yeah. We're now in the position where we're now in the position we were hoping to be at this point. A large one-cap nation with metal order thrones to give us magic diversity paths, particularly air and earth. We have a ton of provinces pumping mages, 2 hags, 2 times hag forests, witches, sages, silver order fort, 3 other forts. We're not involved in any to the death wars, assuming Zabalba wasn't lying about wanting peace. We're involved in the Mictlan coalition, of course, but we raided the provinces we were promised in the partition of Mictlan already. We tested buff stacks of berserkers, and we do have tech to beat the Jaguars, but it would require committing a bunch of mages. If Gath and Pan are going to get the richest parts of Mictlan, they can fight the Doom stack. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
we're gonna
we kind of saw that already.
right.
The things that he was deploying to raid Shivalba would also beat the Jaguars if basically deployed in larger quantities.
Right.
Like you basically need like 6 of those little cells I don't know what you call that the like mini boxes. I call them shame cubes, but like
Shame
the
cubes.
ideas that you make, yeah, where we have like the bodyguarded
Yeah.
berserkers on, yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, you make those like little boxes with 6 mages in the center, and then like 8 or 6 cells on the outside, depending on which sets of buffs you're going for.
Yeah.
So because he already has the tech, we know that he has the units to do it. It's basically just like he's saying, it's a matter of deploying everything, and you need most of your astral mages in order to make that work.
Right.
So it is actually a very heavy commitment in order to deploy that stack, even though it is scalable.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually those, if you add more troops to them, they can actually become weaker because you end up diluting the buffs. A lot of times those stacks are actually stronger with a low mage to troop ratio. Not like you
troop to mage ratio. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's a huge mage commitment to do the strongest point buffed armies you can. Okay, meanwhile they're going to take advantage of the breathing room. We have to macro hard and get ahead and research site searching and get our toys online and feel out the next move while we try to get our nose clean in the middle of these wars. Ulm wants us to join a coalition to fight Arco. We gave a pass.
Yeah. Arco's probably one of his hardest matchups right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, right? Because they've got magic weapons, they've got similar density. The Berserkers aren't going to care about the repel, and you do point buff better than Arco, but not a lot better. Yeah, it's not an easy matchup for sure.
Yeah, Arco can also they can bring the elementals back, or sorry, elephants back, which actually can hold up okay into some of these point buff stacks, especially when you can put Gift of Flight on them.
Yeah, Gift of Flight right now isn't very reliable with the targeting AI, but yeah, if you can get it back there really early to mess up the... And Arco doesn't have good air access either, in general. Maybe they have an indie mage, but...
They have the Crystal Amazons now, right?
I can't remember, but yeah, if they have that, it could kind of work. Anyway, let's keep going. So we've got other neighbors involved in wars too, which is good. The speed that Midgard died to TNC was alarming. I'd put TNC as the game leader at the moment. Demosthenes knows what he's doing, and TNC is a versatile and strong nation. I actually kind of like the Vedheim position maybe the best.
Yeah, same. But I think that's because we can see the macro that he's doing, whereas TNC is like the one that has another cap and is still like at a very good size.
Right. But we have, and he also didn't win this war cleanly. Like actually, Arco might move into position 1 if he gets to eat almost all the Ulmish land, because he'll be the only person that like actually won a 1v1.
Yeah, Arco should come out the biggest in territory, but he had to deploy a bunch of mages to do it. Right. So he's not going to be ahead of Vedheim or I would say even Arithia on research.
Yeah. But we have some time to ride our power curve up. So barring Perfidy born on bat wings, we're going to do...
Perfidious bats.
Yeah. We're going to do just that while we try to manipulate wars elsewhere to keep people involved in slugs. Yeah. So, let's take a look. So there was a lot of action here. This was previously...
This is just rating.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of rating. Okay, so nobody was home. This was previously a Vedheim province.
Well, yeah, that was a Vedheim for 1 turn province.
Right. And then here's a small Vedi raiding squad, which is going to beat this PD, but probably take a few losses if I know my Vedi berserkers.
Yeah, like 1 or 2. They should kill these things really fast. Yeah.
Oh, no, they might not.
Yeah, maybe no losses.
Oh, no, they took 2.
Oh, they did take 2.
I know.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I know my Vedi raiding squads. When I see 19 berserkers, I'm like, yeah, 6 PD, you're going to lose 2 of them. They're really good units, but unbuffed, they always find ways to die.
And this is actually a heavy bless commitment. But they're mostly going to be carrying this with attack rear. So they're going to kill the commander and then clean up the berserkers as they retreat.
Where's the commander? Oh, they're all the way back here. Yep.
Bonk.
Yeah, and berserkers really are not going to like the big stat malice. Oh, they will go berserk if they'll lose the stat penalty while they're, but you can see they die so fast.
Yeah.
And these guys are expensive. They're 12 gold a pop. So, you know, this isn't obviously bleeding Vedheim out, but yeah. But I mean, they're more expensive than like a human troop. So, while clearly Vedheim isn't bleeding out from this, this did kind of suck. So very good counter rating anticipation from Zabalba. And you can see Zabalba put counter rating squads up in almost all these provinces.
I think that's actually partly just logistics, that he's moving them down from the German border towards Vedheim.
Yeah, but I think he was very intentional about covering all these provinces in case of raiding. But I think you're right. It's probably for the greater purpose of getting everything down here to fight.
Given that Balba sent Vedheim a message asking for peace, I don't think that they're going to attack that throne.
Yeah, but he pieced out. He probably sent the message. This is what I think happened. He probably logged into the turn, was like, fuck, I'm getting attacked. I wanted to finish Joman. Sent a message. Vedheim probably was sitting there talking with their Hydra partner about it for like 12 hours. Meanwhile, Zabalba's like, fuck, they haven't responded. He talks to Joman. He's like, hey, how about we peace out? And then I'm going to fight Vedheim. And then Joman's like, yeah. And then he's like, okay, fuck it. No peace. I think this is escalating.
So I disagree, because I think that the reason that Fulk didn't get back regarding the nap is that he just personally wasn't there.
Oh.
So I think that he like went in, did basically the sequence that you're describing, and then like, didn't have time to get back to his turn later or do Diplo. And that I don't know that for a fact. I haven't like talked to him about this game, but that's just my impression from having played with him before, is that he is like just kind of a busy guy.
Yeah.
So he'll, do a turn, and then if he can't get back to it, that's the turn.
Okay, so let's say Vedheim accepts peace with him. That would make Arco a potentially interesting target, where he could go jump on this Olmish fort, and then if other people are thinking about attacking Arco, like Joman almost certainly is, Zabalba could help. So they could actually become like blood brothers in a way.
That's possible, but honestly, I would want to kill Joman. I think Joman, like, even it, like if you take a step back and be like, okay, I'm at peace with all of my neighbors, who is my next target?
Yeah.
Joman's still his easiest target.
Yeah, I mean, right? Arco is spread pretty thin right now, though. They have twice as much territory and not twice as much stuff yet.
I think what you do as Xibalba, or I guess what I would do as Xibalba, is I take the deal with Vedheim, let him, keep the throne, compy with the borders that you have now. You get +1 province that you basically grabbed off Mictlan. I'd grab the free Olmos stuff, because your troops are already down there, to potentially prosecute this Vedheim war, which you no longer need to do. So you grab that fort for free, grab the other blue flags. Then you figure out basically whether you want to fight Arco or Joman.
Yeah.
And given your druthers, I would rather fight Joman. So like you grab the Olmos stuff while your nap cools down, and then after that 3-turn waiting period, then you go right back and you just take all those provinces back.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, given the Vedheim message, it does seem they're going to be open to peace still. Like, like a deadly war with Zabalba is definitely not like part of their long-term strategy at this moment. They want to chill.
Yeah, I think you hold off on fighting Xibalba until you can get critical mass of Sacreds. It's just too hard to fight without that.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that Vedheim is easy. Like, in the late game, Vedheim has a ton of powerful tools of its own, including super combatant options, which they can make to tank an Ocelotl horde. But, they do have a very smooth power curve, and Xibalba's power curve is a little more jagged, and they're not going to be at one of their peaks for quite a while.
The other thing, and this may impact Balba's thinking, is Vedi's in a good position this game. They're going to have really good research. Balba is a nation that really fucking doesn't like Cold 3, and if Vedheim is in the game and is in a good position, you can guarantee at some point in the game, Illwinter's going up. So Zabalba might be like, all right, fuck it, let's just get this over with now. But I'm not saying I like that option, but that would be in the back of my mind as a Zabalba player always. So.
I just wouldn't take this fight if you can't win it. We can see what's on that throne. Vedheim intentionally de-stealth stuff to show strength. I don't think Xibalba has enough stuff on the map, period, to beat that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're close.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we have some interesting battles here with Arco and Ulm. So let's read Ulm's messages. Gicello here. I'm back, but it looks like I'm too late for the critical fight. So Gicello he was kind of gone and was mostly, I think, gone,
Brexo.
Not present. Brexo was mostly doing the turns. So he's back now, and unfortunately the position is eroded. Just my what-if thoughts on the Ulm Arco fort fight I missed. Based on the setup, Arco elephants countered Ulm thugs, and Ulm thugs with gear countered point-buffed infantry. Black priests should hold to conserve fatigue for close-up darts. That's where I'm like, sure, but would that have swung the fight? Not close, I don't think. Based on what Arco revealed, the other thing is, Iron Darts and Iron Blizzard got pretty severely nerfed. Before, they used to bypass shield checks, and now they no longer do. So trying to kill heart companions who have shields and good protection with iron darts is not very efficient. So
And luck for that matter.
Right.
It's always, like, I think it's okay versus elephants.
yeah,
And I think it was kind of like his best offensive tool in general compared to crossbows against ethereal units.
right.
But I don't think that it was enough.
Yeah. I don't think you like have a little bit more. I mean, like summon earth power would have been great to put on him, right? But like, would that have swung the fight? No, it's kind of like the wrong. You've got the wrong tool. So if you use the wrong tool better, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the job done. Based on what Arca revealed walking onto the fort, a black priest with full plate, horror helm, pike, dancing trident, ring of the warrior in front of the crossbows to catch Arco's infantry line was the play. Well, that could be interesting.
We can kind of skip past some of this, though, because he's basically saying you put an unkillable thug as your front line, which is actually cool. Like, you do this as Asphodel, for example.
Right.
But I don't... Like, we did see that he had those things in the battle, but you can't get enough of them in order to actually form a front line this early in the game. Like, he just didn't have...
I think he was thinking that they would, like, all stop and attack that one guy, which I don't think that's really how battles work. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to have, like, 6 of them.
Right.
Or more, even, which just can't get at this stage in the game.
Yeah. I doubt we could have done more than one of those, but attack closest is really dumb AI oftentimes and uses Arco's density against them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but he might have been on attack rear or on attack archer or on attack anything.
Yeah, and even then, like, with that many different squads, there's just going to be too much to catch on one person.
Yeah. Rely on crossbows to kill the elephants, send in the pikes to delay them and keep them off the thug. Communion up this S1 priests for smites, entangle, bleed on the elephants, and darts on the infantry. Form up the ungeared, luck-buffed hawks at a second stall point for the priests to point blank iron darts. Oh, yeah. And then stand still as if you script cast. Stall out the Arco infantry on the thug and hawks until morale is triggered. I wasn't around to test, but that would have been my starting point. Thom instead of Evo was also valid had we gone mages. At this point, not too much to do but Diplo. Arco has sacrificed a lot of mage turns, point buffing. I don't think it'll be a game-winning strategy since his neighbors basically waited for this to happen. However, we're obviously in dire straits now.
Yeah, I think the fact that Arco had been rude to most of his neighbors was kind of part of what Ulm had been relying on, where at the beginning, even TNC wanted to go in on him.
Right.
And TNC had another war already, like, on the back burner, so that was, like, you know, not something that they wanted, but they just disliked Arco strongly enough to go for it regardless.
Right.
But that said, as we've been talking about, the only person who's really, like, ready to fight Arco at this point is Joman, who can't beat Arco on his own, or even like in the 2v1 of like Ulm and Joman versus Arco. That's just Arco getting stuff before Xibalba gets their stuff.
Right. Yeah. Second message from Cello. Final thought on that thug setup. Withering weapons is really good with repel and fear mechanics versus human HP. With repel. Oh yeah. Sorry, wait. It doesn't immediately kill, but
yeah, repel and fear mechanics versus human HP is what he's saying. That the repel chips damage, and then the withering weapons kind of like synergizes with that to rout the higher HP units.
Okay, I'm just not sure about this in general. I mean, I kind of get it, but I don't see how like withering weapons is good on a thug. Like it's not coming together for me. Late Age is just filled with very high protection, low defense, middling MR units. Shields are everywhere and come with defense malice. Taking a point of damage, getting decayed, and staying under a fear aura is no joke. Cough. Never going on vacation again. Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But you had a cool build at least, so I was really happy to show that off to everybody.
Yeah, build was cool. It was just a bad first war. Like, he couldn't have picked a worse neighbor to fight.
Yeah. All right, so this is what Arco is sending on top of Ulm's cap, and Ulm chooses not to defend.
And yeah, one of the interesting things about what Arco's doing is he knows that fort is pretty much empty at this point, but it has like some stuff inside of it. So he's keeping a modicum of his mage core there, and he's putting all those high strength apes on the fort in order to siege it down. But he's moving his sacreds and a fair number of his mages with this army in order to siege Ulm. So this is kind of like his more battle-focused commitment, so
Right.
higher mage to troop ratio and more elite units, while his that's funny, the
Oh
mage
God.
commander got sniped.
Yeah, let's watch this. Oh no, he put him actually in the troop squad. I think you want him behind. The
Gets
javelin.
javelined.
Oh man, this was literally one PD.
Yep. 1 PD is the best investment you can make.
Oh my God. The value. Let's see what is this also 1 PD? This is like 3 PD.
Yeah, rangers do require either a fair amount of buffing or an actual front line.
Yeah. Or a critical mass.
That too, yeah. If you can shoot everything in one round, then yeah, you can get away without.
Oh man. And then they take this. Yeah, the wheels are off the Ulm wagon. Yeah, I mean the other thing is just these mages. Oh, they had a mounted commander here too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not looking good for Ulm. This fort is finally popped, so we'll probably be seeing a storming of that next turn. And,
Yeah, and some ethereal elephants should be enough to do that. You basically put the elephants on the flanks, cast body ethereal on them, and then you have the like infantry corps in the middle.
Right.
And you don't need that many mages to storm that very reliably.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully we get to see that next turn. Coming
And
down.
look at that.
Oh. Oh.
This is actually some actual mage support from Joman. Oh, wait, he might just be using that mage as a commander. But yeah, this is a properly mage-supported army from Arco. Which, yeah, is going to destroy the... What buffs did the Shugenja cast?
Yeah, let's take a look. So give us... I
That
mean,
should
we
give
know
us-
he has some alteration for his god. Stone skin, personal regen, protection. Okay. So this is
Yeah.
mostly just, please don't get
It
sniped.
looks like unscripted, actually.
Yeah. No, I think it's like he just doesn't want the commander to get sniped. He's literally
fair.
just a commander.
Yeah.
Does he manage to walk off? Oh, he does?
Doesn't mean he retreats successfully either, but yeah.
Yeah. And there's a Master Shugenja here.
Oh, he
so
does,
that bodes
okay.
well for the retreat. Sadly, there's not... Well... Does this have... There are death mages here.
At
And this
least
guy can
one.
random death. Let's see how many, actually. Because one play from Arco is like defending that fort with your god. Or one play from Joman. He's got a death 2.
And
So
nature
one
too.
death 2, and that's it.
Yeah, if you want to fend off the Ghost King, you generally want more just that they don't get caught up on stuff.
Yeah. Because they probably won't cast Dust to Dust every single turn either.
They
They'll
will
do
if
it a
they're in
lot.
range.
They'll do it
Yeah,
a lot.
the AI loves that spell.
But I don't know. I tend to find it's going to switch it up. Like maybe you get it 2/3 of the time or something. But yeah,
If Arco has good scouting, he can keep pushing.
Right. Well, I mean, the real question is, does the Ghost King show up here?
I mean, not by himself. He just kind of dies to that.
Really? You think so? I think
Yeah,
if
I
there's
think
not enough Dust to Dust, that he might be able to survive it.
I think you need one Dust to Dust caster. With the human HP Ghost Kings,
I mean, this is kind of a lot of HP.
he has 3 regen around.
What's more? It's... Wait,
28 max HP.
Minion penalty. Well, why is it so goddamn high? Was he just...
He's coming from his capital, or like his cap circle.
Okay. Well, right now he's in a hostile dominion. This is Windex, which is... Assuming that's Arco's. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is Joman's, I believe, nuclear.
Okay. So I guess he'll regen like 4 HP around maybe then.
Oh, wait, no. This is... Wait, who is nuclear?
That's Pythium.
It's Pythium?
Squirrel Warrior.
Oh, nuclear. Okay, yeah.
It's nuclear Squirrel Warrior. It's just that the pretender name order gets shifted
right.
depending on where it is.
Okay, so this is actually hostile dominion, too. So,
We should ask Pythium what nuclear Squirrel Warrior references.
yeah. We can do that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I have no idea whether this would work. I wouldn't be horribly shocked if it did, but I also don't really know. I mean, Heart Companions are hard to tank in general, especially if you get strength buffs on them.
Yeah, interestingly, that's relatively hard for Arco to do. Like, he does have the Earth Path, but he needs to either communion up for it or make boots in order to cast it in any quantity.
Right. Okay. So that's that. And then this is the peace borders that have been established between Jomin and Zabalba, which we've talked about. And then we talked about this part of the conflict. Let's come over and look at what happened with Mictlan. Mictlan is just staying still.
I'm very interested by Pangaea moving up to that forest, because I would have expected him to storm. And he's got more birds.
This actually is a really interesting strategic move. I think the logical move that I would have expected from Mictlan would be to take everything and have a fight here. And here you can see he just left a few things to probably gem bait. And instead he moved here. If that had executed, the armies would have passed each other. Mictlan would be here. Pangaea would be here. And basically this army would be trapped here now. It can't actually go anywhere else except to this province. So he would have pinned this army in where he could PD dump this, and then like Gath could
and move reinforcements in reliably.
Right, move reinforcements in. Gath can move stuff here. So yeah, this army would have been totally fucking boned unless they could just move in here and fight. But then that would be a fight where Pan gets to basically make all the calls. Mictlan raids out, which, again, this is something I like. You're raiding. You're trying to apply some pressure. But there's things like...
Bergmeister guards are actually very good against Jaguars.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, their usual weakness is that they have relatively low damage because, they're Hoburgs. But they have great stats otherwise, and against low protection units, they hold up great because of their high density and high defense.
Yeah. The thing is here is like, okay, it's great, but you actually need all of your sacreds to fight. So he's like using some to raid. I'm like, you actually need, like, he has to pull the trigger on, like, I don't know whether he attacks into the Gath stack, but he needs to do something.
I like this.
Yeah, this is an early thug. I wonder if this is the same one that went on that throne. Ooh.
No, it's geared differently. This is set up for repel tanking.
Yeah. 21 attack. And yeah, these guys don't have a ton of morale. They are blessed.
13 attack.
They're probably getting repelled a lot. Yeah, I mean, you can see
actually, this is mostly based on
when he goes
the fact
like this
that he knows
and does his hands, that's a repel happening. So there's a lot of repels.
Yeah, so this is mostly based on the fact that he knows that Mictlan isn't going to be defending this in force. Like, this can't take Mictlan's entire army, of course. It's possible later on with, like, a little more gear and some assistance, point buffs, to make a super combatant that you actually can just, like, drop onto the enemy army. And the nice thing about doing that is that you can use a astral random Kohen and then put on, like, basically use shade mail to put your point buff mage in that province. So then he teleports in, the point buff mage de-stealths, and then you basically have a magic phase attack with your, in this case, probably like a Jade Amazon for Moss Body, which lets you do some really interesting stuff.
Are you familiar with the Braces of Protection bug?
It's not a... Well, it's kind of a bug.
It's kind of a
that
bug,
it gets the double Legions of Steel thing. Yeah.
Well, no, that you can put 2 of them on.
Oh, yeah, I knew about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was fixed. I thought you were talking about just the fact that Legions of Steel applies to every Bracer.
No, it's...
Because that's already kind of, like, questionably buggy.
Yeah, it's... you put... You can only do it on these guys who have 3 inventory slots. Because... somebody's like, hey, it's kind of a bug. Like, it shouldn't make sense that you can do Legions of Steel on every Bracer. And Illwinter's like, yeah, that's right, we'll fix it. And so what they made it is that if you have, like, a Bracer in this slot, then it is going to negate the Bracer in slot number 2 for the buffs. But it doesn't negate the Bracer in slot 3. So as long as you do Bracer, empty, Bracer, you can get, still do protection stacking.
Yeah, and that gets you to 40 protection very, very quickly.
Yeah. Which is
I honestly think that the fact that bracers apply +3 from Legions of Steel to your entire body is kind of ridiculous. Because that's literally getting +5 armor per slot, which stacks fully with your existing armor.
Well, you have to say, like, what does a bracer really do? Like how is it that a bracer applies head and body protection? I guess you're actually, like, you're using it like a shield.
Well, the thing is that the thing that I dislike about it is that Legions of Steel applies +3 to that. Like, bracers by themselves are, they're fine. And for some thugs, like, it's also fine that, like, they get +5 armor protection. But Like that is very significant.
Yeah,
And stacking it to get +10 makes hitting the protection cap almost trivial.
yeah, it's pretty easy.
Because you get +10 from that, plus whatever your armor's value is, plus the Legions of Steel.
Let's see if this Pangean army changed the script up. Okay, so this actually is different.
Yeah,
Before, these sages were back like 2 tiles, or they're like
well,
back
before
here.
there were half as many. No, there were like a third as many sages. This is
Yeah.
a massively increased mage count.
Yeah, this is almost 20.
And his dryads are on bodyguard. They're on guard commander.
Oh, okay.
That's also why some of them spawned behind.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looks like he tried to get them to spawn in front by putting this crossbow line.
Yeah, it's going to spawn in the nearest available square.
Right.
So if the square immediately in front is full, and the square immediately behind is full, then it's kind of random whether they spawn in front or behind.
I bet you, I wonder if we see it in the next fight. I bet you he moves this forward, right? Because if this is forward, it's going to force these guys to spawn in front, which is obviously what he wants.
Yeah, and I think that like there's very little harm in having your archers up front like that. Because, you know, they're a little further forward, so slightly more accurate as guys are walking in.
Oh, yeah.
And they still need to go around the mage line anyways in order to get to the fight. So it doesn't really hurt to squish everything together.
Yeah, no, unless you're worried about like certain types of nukes, I think forward positioned, like high density archers is the way to go. Yeah, loses
The
one
only thing he doesn't want to do
and
is
some
he doesn't want
birds.
the archers to spill out in front.
Right, right.
And that gets a little finicky.
Yeah. Yeah, that can
But
be
yeah,
an
just
issue.
looking at the mage count there, can you pull up the battle report from the forest? Yeah, 17 sages.
That's a
Mictlan
lot.
can't beat that.
That's a lot. Yeah, I feel like there was this window where Mictlan could have like rolled out, but this is now really hard. And the thing is, like, maybe there's a way Mictlan can beat it, but now it has to be such a triumphant, tremendous all-in, right? Like, they need literally all their mages, and they're starting to get their actual... Like, one of the reasons you build these forts next to each other is so that you can manage logistics in situations like this, right? But they're starting to get, like, mages trapped inside forts and stuff. And, like, if you even want to have a hope at fighting this, you can't be off-raiding with these guys. And you need literally every single mage, like this one, and you have to just fucking fight. So...
Yeah, I think it's too late.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, this is a very spooky stack. That's a huge mage commitment. I don't know if Mictlan has 17 mages himself. Like,
He definitely doesn't have 17 mages in range. But then the other thing is that 17 sounds like a lot. But Pangea can bring more, right? I mean, these are Centaur Sages. They have
Right.
extremely high map move.
So he's got here 5. I mean, he's got like 8 mages here. I don't think... I wonder if Mictlan could put together 12 mages in an army. I don't think he can. And Summon Imps is great, but he also... I feel like... I was actually doing some late age Mictlan builds, and just kind of making them for fun. And I really like the idea of being able to take Magic 1. It's the one scale I kind of want, because in an early rush scenario like this, it means you can do like Imp Reinvigoration, Imp, or something, right? Rather than passing out for an extra turn. Ultimately, I think most of the builds I have are like 0 scales, but that is the one thing I kind of want. That is the one scale I kind of want, and it's mostly just to use the blood magic. And they're not quite at this threshold, so if they cast Summon Imp, they're going to go to, like, they're going to take 100 fatigue, and then they're going to take the encumbrance. So they're going to be passed out for an extra turn. And then you use them again. If the ideal way to position this Mictlan army, like we were talking about, is all spread out in a line, not on hold and attack immediately, and massive imp summoning. If you're not in Magic 1, it's actually kind of hard to do that massive imp summoning in like multiple waves. Like maybe you're like, I'm going to do summon imp, and that's it. Or summon imp, and then they'll be asleep for a while between the third one. But, you know, good luck, and you can't have like a high speed when you do that in neutral magic scales.
Yeah, I also don't think it would work. Like, I think flat out Pangean units have too much protection, and he just has too much stuff to get bogged down by that many flyers.
Yeah.
Like, imps are low damage, and you don't have blood surge for them.
Yeah. I mean, enough imps, I think it could work, but I don't know how many it would take. And not imps by themselves. I mean, the imps are really just a distraction to help these guys get into melee. Not terribly molested, but yeah, I don't know. You might be right. It might be Mission Impossible at this point with this many mages.
And like I mentioned, the worst part is that Pangea can bring more reinforcements on top of this very easily.
Yeah, it's kind of this. I think that one of the themes here is like initiative, and Mictlan has just given up all the initiative, right? He's been banking that people are gonna like run into this PD dump that he did and fight his one army, and they just haven't done it. You know, it would have been great if they did and it worked, but they just haven't. And the more risky plays he hasn't made, and the consequence of that is he's basically been putting it every turn that it goes on that he doesn't seize the initiative back and take a major battle, the coalition forces get stronger and he gets weaker and like farther behind. So
yeah, and he's just patrolling with all his mages, so he's not even researching.
Right. So he's just like pinning himself farther and farther into a box.
Eventually, even Gath will be able to take the fight.
Right. Yeah. Let's see what's actually here. Mictlan pings this.
He brought a crystal sork.
Yeah, I mean, that actually scares me. I would not want to fight this as Mictlan. Fuck no.
I mean, it's better than the other army, honestly.
Yeah.
It's starting to reach
get a lot of mages, though.
Yeah, with that many slingers, it's actually starting to get close to parity.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a tremendous number of troops. Gath has to be a little careful about where they move them. Got some point buffers here.
Yeah, he moved out his astral random sages, which is interesting. And those are all Strength of Giants guys.
Yeah. So these guys are probably going to be communion slaves, and then these guys are going to be... I'm guessing this crystal sorcerers...
We can see the first...
Oh, yeah.
No, they're just doing luck, it looks like.
Okay. Huh.
He has Earth Gems on one of his Earth 1 mages, so he might distribute that to his other Earth 1 mage.
Or you can do Strength of Giants with an Earth 1. You just do summon Earth Power, and then you spend a gem for each one.
Right. He has 4 gems on one of his Earth 1s.
Yeah.
So we might split that up so that they each have 2.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, they're on a lab now, actually. Gath built a lab there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this lab is like, yeah, you sit there and patrol every turn. We'll sit here and research while we build up more troops. And you die. It's not a... Yeah.
And he's blood hunting that forest there.
Blood hunting where? This one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like building labs everywhere that I'm hunting. Like, I'll hunt where I happen to have a lab.
This is the Crystal Amazon province, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's sufficient then. Yeah, you've got a lab there anyways, may as well use it. Okay. Yeah. No hate.
Okay.
Oh, no, the Crystal Amazon province might be the one just south of that, because that also has a lab. Yeah, I don't remember where it is.
But, yeah. I also don't
know.
It
might be the Jade Amazon province. Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, that's the Jade Amazons.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you do want the lab there anyways. Okay.
Okay, so that's that. Things are not looking good for Mictlan. But, I also just want to be careful. Sai and I are like throwing darts at like, oh, it needs to do this, needs to do this. It's very hard getting 3v1'd and surviving in general in a high skill game. It just is really fucking hard. So and like Sai was saying, you kind of need your opponents to mess up. And oftentimes, especially if they're good players, they're not going to mess up for long. They'll like kind of mess up for a turn, or they'll open themselves to some vulnerability they didn't think of, and you have to just be there ready to seize it. So
yeah, you have to actually be surprisingly aggressive to win against a coalition.
Yep. And surprisingly aggressive doesn't mean marching at their capital. It just means like seeing a small opportunity for some little aggressive move that they didn't see and just fucking like going all in on it and just crushing them.
If Mictlan had like full-on Hellbless, then at the start of this coalition, he could run at Gath until Gath backs out and then turn around and fight basically just Pangea.
Yeah. I think one of the things that this kind of made me think is that swiftness and for late age Mictlan is like extra value. Just watching this, like 2 swiftness stacks, I think is like super good. Because you just do Divine Blessing, attack turn 1, and then slamming imps. And it's like, your guys will be there pretty much by the time the imps are landing. And then if you have...
It's also really important for the Eagle Warriors to get first strike.
Yeah.
Because without swiftness, they almost never get it.
Yeah.
Like, it actually makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay, we've talked Vettiheim and Utgard. Oh, Utgard storms the fort.
Finally. Yeah, they could have done this last turn, but they're doing it now. Better mate than lover.
I heard the beleaguered scream of a Seth Kona dying.
Yeah, I don't love
doing
his
Garmherding
positioning.
things where they stand there and get hit by crossbows and then run
Go
in one at a
berserk and
time.
run in one at a time. Yeah. No, his positioning in this fight was not very good.
What would
Basically,
what would you do?
the two ways that you do this fight are, one, you have your mages at the back, you have some arrow catchers at the front, you do guard commander on most of your Garm herds, you win via Skella spam. Option two, you put Garm herds on the flanks with ethereal point buffing, and you do body ethereal so that they can walk through the walls, and then you have those hit the gate at the same time as your skeletons. And he didn't. I mean, he had enough of an overwhelming force that he won anyways, but this could have been cleaner.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the attrition actually was from the wall archers.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the only attrition he really suffered.
And yeah, I guess you can't put your Seth Kona out of range of it. So
yeah, not fully out of range so much as just in the back and with some targets close enough up front that the difference in accuracy actually gets them to target the closer units.
Yeah. Okay, so they have the fort. Now, what happened with Agartha? Did Agartha move? No, Agartha moved here to try to catch this
Midgard is going all in on him.
Yeah, this Midgard force. But Midgard didn't move here, which I think was... This is where the Midgard army
they were in
was.
range. Look at the Sacreds. The Sacreds were in range to relieve his fort. Midgard really picked his target.
Oh my god.
And then we'd kind of seen that this Agartha stack was very weak, right? Because we had seen these troops moving up. So we knew that they had relatively weak mage support, and that these
were the raiders, right? Like, these Agarthan forces were out raiding. And they've got the sappers
sort of raiding. It's the sapper group. Right. So they have enough siege strength to take this fort, but they don't have enough actual combat power to do it.
And the thug in here is just ruining it. I mean, the thug with the Thunder Whip is actually sick with these high shock res, like these 15 shock res vans.
Yeah, and great against these high protection crossbows. High protection, low HP, exactly the perfect victims for this shock whip.
Yeah.
Now we can make fun of Darkwolf.
God. Yeah, what a mistake Aaron made putting Darkwolf on his team. Feels bad. I mean, it's kind of funny. You know there's some salt in the Midgard thing, right? Like we talked about it ad nauseum, right? It makes sense what he's doing because he can't really hurt TNG. He's fighting the person he can't hurt, but he's getting some enjoyment out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's getting a shocking amount of damage done. That's actually really good. And he gets all this income for this turn.
Yeah, the Agartha position's pretty fucking ruined now. I mean, he's still got a core land, but I mean, Jesus, look at this. He has all the content. He is so much up land. He might not even be down land in the war that much. Like, where's the...
Who, Midgard?
Yeah.
No, he's at the bottom. Yeah,
okay, he's kind of at the bottom. Where's
down.
Agartha? Okay, no, Agartha's still bigger than him. Fair enough.
Agartha is down land from starting this war, though.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's actually worse than it looks.
It's not from Midgard. Yeah.
He's also cut off from 2 of those provinces, so it's worse than it looks.
Right. Woo! This is all Agartha has left. It's this, and this, and this. Like, this is it. This is the entire force of Agartha. I don't think that entire force of Agartha can kill... I mean, the scripting here isn't great. I'm not sure the entire force of Agartha can kill this, though.
It can.
You think?
Yeah, no, Agartha can beat that just by putting a blob of crossbows at the front.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hope you can spread out the Seth Kona enough where they don't all get targeted.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. Like, I think that scripted properly, you can do a lot with that.
Yeah.
But as it was set up there, you can literally just kill that with a blob of crossbows.
Right. Okay, I think the right move for Utgard is either take this or to take this. This is closer to the capital, both. Right? Or no?
You actually want to grab both. You want to open up multiple avenues.
Yeah. Okay.
I also think that Utgard is playing very either scared or lazy. Because his head was kind of not in
the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because he should be clearing up those barbarians by bringing up relatively small mage supported stacks in order to do some buffs in order to make your guys immune to the barbs. So
Right.
like just a couple armored Jotuns with ethereal can handle barbarians no problem.
Right.
And that's pretty easy to do at this stage.
Okay. Yeah, I actually would love to experiment with like small rating stacks with Utgard. I'm sure there's really efficient things you can do. I don't know how much alteration he has research though. We know obviously he has enchantment. I don't remember seeing a lot of luck buffs.
Given how many Scythe Kona he has, and the fact that he had an Awake Research God, he should have like all of his early game stuff.
Well, we've probably seen. Let's see. He's flattened out here for this war.
Oh, he deployed. Okay, so that was all of his Scythe Kona that he sent out.
That's everything.
That's just his God researching now.
Yeah.
Look at Arithia's curve. Wow.
Okay, let's look at Arithia's curve. Arithia likes research. Oh my god.
Yeah. That's what you get out of not deploying mages to your war.
Yeah, holy shit. They're... Oh no, somebody else ticked up. Who's this? Pythium? What the fuck did Pythium do?
He bought mages, I suppose.
No, but this has to be research items.
Oh, so that spike is from his mages that were in that army after they stormed. They read research.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess there were a lot. But this is ridiculous. I mean, the next highest, the highest person right here is Pythium. If Pythium sits around here and research, so this is actually funny because these two are partners in the same war against Atlantis, and they're both like there's like the race to kill Atlantis, but then behind that there's like the shadow race to be first in research.
Erythia should pass Pythium either next turn or the turn after if you look at the delta.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless again he actually deploys enough mages to kill Atlantis, which is going to make that line not quite
as steep,
not as spiky. Yeah.
Yeah. But right now, I think he's twice. I think Pythium's the next highest research per turn, and I think Arethia's twice him. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, the Dukudos are good.
Okay, Marignon. Oh my god.
He made it.
He made it. Who is this man?
That's his guy.
Yes.
This is the crossbow guy.
Yes. Glory to
You know, when
Marignon.
we were talking about underwater thugs, I kind of forgot about this guy, but he actually makes it very easy.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't need that
He
frost
didn't even
brand.
do personal regen, damn. Yeah. Nice. Fuck yeah. Oh man, this just brings a smile to my face. Marignon getting this underwater area.
At long last.
At long last.
Do you know what his nap situation was like? Because I remember that Pythium said that he started counting down his with Agartha. But we don't know what Marignon's is.
Yeah, we don't have any message from them here. Oh,
Okay.
we've covered Gath. We need to read Gath's message. The bummer this turn is that 255 suddenly froze due to Utgard's Dominion, and now my Abba can't move from 231 to the throne, which gives Arco another turn to get it. Though I understand it's not super likely he's trying to do so. So I'm attempting a no regen Godal attack there. Hopefully it works.
It should be fine, honestly. Like, we saw what was on that throne before, and like a decently geared Godal should be able to take that no problem. Oh, yeah.
So we get to watch it. We didn't...
Yeah, you need very little gear for this.
Oh, but he's doing
he
all
actually
sorts
has
of
other
things.
point buffers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Moss Body and Ethereal, this is no problem. Yeah, because the only thing that can actually, like, seriously hurt this guy is, like, actually direct damage stuff from those mages, and they're not going to cast it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he easily HP routes the Indies. Yeah, he definitely didn't need regen. He might have not even needed both of those things. But yeah, Throne of Knowledge on this particular Gath build is great. You always love having lore masters just because they open up, full diversity for any nation. But for this Drain Gath in particular, these are probably like the only his sage guys that he's going to want to just be sitting around researching.
Yeah. Okay. So that's cool. He took that. Let's finish his message. Hopefully it works. On the Mictlan front, Pan found a sleep cloud solution that works for him. So he is now confident he can take the Doom stack down. Good news. My move this turn is hopefully an unexpected attack on the cap, which he doesn't seem to patrol. And I'm trying to convince Pan to move to 156 instead of taking the fort at 142 so we can make a fork at Mictlan. I love the chess terminology. It might seem surprising, but I still can't beat that stack even with the whole bunch of stuff I have. Godal with 36 protection does fine, but he's not killy, and Fear is not effective against Jags with 17 morale. I know I've been controversial on Flaming Arrows before, and they're definitely not great, about 2 damage per bullet, but with 300 slingers and 100 crossbows, it still seems something and definitely good against non-sacreds. So I'm making a detour, and they'll be online this turn. Okay.
Yeah, he's right that like it's not a big deal. It's definitely not what you rush. It's much smaller than stuff like Strength of Giants, or even in my opinion, Legions of Steel. But it helps, so may as well cast it.
Yeah. Regarding Vedheim, well, they obviously had a plan to attack Zabalba all along, thus deceiving us. And their
That's not
commitment.
deceptive. Xibalba stole that throne. He wasn't initially planning on doing that. He was doing that strictly in response to Xibalba grabbing his loot. There's no deception there. He's just taking the agreed upon provinces.
Yeah.
If they wanted him to commit more, they should have given him more of the partition. He got everything that were his provinces to take. And if he doesn't need to commit more, there's, no shame in that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think this was deceptive at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It doesn't come as a big surprise because they seem quite shady in pursuing their own goals since the start. But it is a lot of this is just vibes you give off, like people give off in communication. Like if you're like hesitant or like not committing or like not sharing much information, you can just give off this vibe. And I think that's probably what's happened more than his actual actions, especially if he explained it better. Like,
yeah, no, I think Kirkop's just a little on the spectrum, so he can sound a little robotic, but I don't think he's ill-meaning at all, especially in this coalition where they literally had a partition, right? Like, if you want this guy to need to commit more, then tell him to go after harder provinces.
Right. I mean, he doesn't have any forts to get, for God's sakes. I mean, he just raided the stuff and his part's done.
Yeah, and if Mictlan decides to go fight him, he knows that he can kill Mictlan too. He has the tech, he has the berserkers ready. Right. He was offered peace and declined, right? Like,
Yeah.
He's doing everything that he said he would.
But it is, of course, very unpleasant. Some of this is also like optics in the sense of maybe he wasn't shady to attack Zabalba, but if it's the perception of Gath and Pangaea that he was, then that has some value in and of itself, even if it's, somewhat incorrect.
Yeah.
Even now, they continue playing it out like nothing has happened. And after it was pointed out, they say it was not really an attack. Well,
right. He's literally just grabbing his throne.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I can't think of a better name for an act where you kill a bunch of stuff and cut retreat paths off from someone. Now that they have both the Iron and the Silver Throne, adding to their all the magic they'll ever need, I think people should turn their attention to them.
That's the only part of this message I actually completely agree with. Vedheim is extremely threatening.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So we missed that. Did we get everybody's message here? TNG we haven't done. We haven't covered the TNG part of the war yet, have we?
No. There isn't really much to say there, though, unless they storm the cap this turn, which they have not. The only new news is that now they have to take the other Midgard fort, too. Well, I say have to, but I can put that in scare quotes because they would love to have another fort.
Right. So let's read the TNG message. 121 has a disease site, apparently. Apparently, the Throne of Life works by sucking the life out of the people who visit the province. Death gems are good. Oh, go ahead.
They do have disease healers.
Yeah.
They got the witches, right? No, that's not them. That's Vedheim.
Yeah, I don't know if they get disease healers in late age. They have like a million different disease healers in middle age.
I think I was actually confused. I was thinking of the witches, but that's Vedheim, not TNG.
Death gems are good, but I'd prefer to have fewer cursed provinces. Nap 3 with Vedheim. I checked they had no plans to attack Agartha before signing. I'm worried that Agartha's having trouble recovering their lands. They have 12 provinces that should be theirs, not earning any income this turn. They've been a good ally and have had a plausible sounding plan for how to recover, with their only invaders being the tiny Utgard. I would have very much liked to have them as a decently capable state protecting my western border. Diplomatically, I'm now thinking of a war with Pythium around turn 24. We're on turn 20, I believe, right? Or 21?
21, yeah.
Right, so in 3 turns. Geographically, they have the richest land on my border, and we'd get whatever remains of Atlantis as an ally. I don't think anyone but Agartha would be an easier war for me right now, and I've already ruled out attacking them as my closest ally. I think I'm much closer to being able to field the tools needed to decisively win against Pythium than I am on trying to march my army into the jaws of Arethia's Mage Corps. The main opportunity that we're monitoring could change that plan is whether the Ulm and Agartha situation offers the opportunity to gain several provinces. If Arco can't take the Ulm capital and we can, that would be huge.
Yeah, Arco can take that capital.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, so looking at the TNG situation, I think you have to write off Agartha as dead. Maybe go for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
Like,
lot
I
of
mean,
stuff to gain here. They can just get all of this stuff.
yeah, I mean, you're taking the Midgard stuff anyways.
Right.
Arca or Agartha can maybe take it back, like, by spending literally everything that he has left. But once the jaws start closing in from other players, you may as well just grab all of that. Just basically grab all of the former Midgard territory and let the other Agarthan vultures grab his cap.
Right.
From there, you
And if
don't
Agartha does survive or he wants to give it to him, like you can be like, okay, like prove to me you can survive by piecing out with Utgard, and then I'll give this to you or something. That's not necessarily super friendly. Like Agartha may need it, but Agartha clearly isn't showing the ability to maintain ownership himself.
Yeah, so basically just grab everything north of Agartha's cap circle, and then maybe some of Agartha's cap circle, like in the northern third, excuse me, out of those 9, if Pythium is eating the rest of them.
Yeah. I definitely feel for what TNG's saying, where it doesn't feel good that, like, he doesn't want to stab an ally because Agartha was, like, honest, truthful, worked with him, all these things. But I think, like you're saying, you have to write him off as dead. So that's like always a hard thing. I wonder if this is going to change his mind, though.
Yeah, this is free territory.
Yeah.
And then his other wars. So waiting against Erythia is going to make that war harder. There's no, like, you want Wailing Winds before you fight them. I actually agree with that. I think you want to hit that point.
Yeah.
But I think basically you need to get Wailing Winds fast and then ride that spike as hard as you can before people get countermeasures online. Because the later you wait to fight Erythia, the harder that war gets.
Yeah. I think the problem, too, is, like, Erythia's shooting up really hard in research. If he goes on Pythium, especially if it's not, like, super one-sided, like, Erythia's going to be at 7s and not very long. Like, he's going to hit his first 7 probably by turn 32 or 33. And
well, again, not if he has to deploy his whole Mage Corps for a couple turns to actually kill Atlantis.
Right. Well, speaking of which, let's go to this front, because we have the Ghost King getting deployed here.
And yeah, you can't beat this with just 3. You need more.
Horror Mark.
Oh, Horror Mark. That's interesting. I'm not going to kill it. Horrors will kill it.
Oh, God.
I actually think so. If you do have trouble against like a real super combatant, which I don't know if this counts, because I think that this is something that like you should be able to kill pretty easily. Hard marking it is actually really funny because it keeps those when it gets called back.
Right.
So if you can hard mark a god badly enough, then it's just like gone forever. Can't even be recalled. Or, I mean, it can. It just dies again.
It's really hard to do that, though. Even when you get horror marks like super stacked up. I'm talking like you have literally 50 casts of horror mark on him. It still isn't like a horror is going to show up every turn.
Yeah, you need a lot more than this. And ideally, you also want Astral Corruption up, which is not exactly Erythia's dream.
Right. And I don't know exactly how it works because a lot of the mechanics are opaque. But once you have like units that have horror mark attacks pounding on you, that's when it feels like to me you can start getting, I don't know how the counter works, but it probably goes up to like, you start having like 500 effective horror marks or something. Once the units that horror mark you are sitting there hitting you every turn.
Yeah.
And that's when it goes crazy.
You need to get them to that horror mark threshold where they get those assassination attempts. And then that's when they get into the point where they just die on recall. But yeah, it does take a while. So, you need like quite a few rounds of this and probably quite a few more mages. And again, that's more for, I think, like like late in the game when you have gods that you could just call back every turn. That's when it actually becomes effective.
Yeah, or like a final fuck you as you're leaving a game or something. Like Erythia needs to be decisively winning this war now, not like planting a seed that's going to sprout in 40 turns.
I think that I think that this is a god that they should be able to handle,
right.
And that using the horror marks on this is just kind of superfluous.
Right.
I do think it's fun, but I don't think this is the right situation for it.
It is very funny, but yeah. And so then Atlantis
you also need a lot more than
the
3 mages. Yeah. You also need a lot more than 3 mages to make that effective.
Oh my god. Atlantis is all in. This is everything he has. This is all the worldly possessions of Atlantis mustered into a single province.
Except for his forgiving fathers. Those aren't here.
But how many of those do we really think there are?
I mean, 1 per turn from that underwater fort, right? So
okay, so
9,
he's got 9.
I guess.
I guess that's significant.
Yeah, given that he's got 6 mages there, that's he has less than half of his mage count technically.
Enough PD here to kill both of these raiders.
Yeah, those were very cheap raiding parties though. That was literally like 130 gold.
Right. But still, it's a win for Atlantis.
He's keeping what's his. Pythium is moving out, and this is kind of what I expected Pythium to do. he still doesn't want to have to fight that cat fight. Like that's not his bag.
Right.
So he's just raiding around basically in order to help make Atlantis die just that little bit faster and to keep what his part of the Atlantis partition is. But his mages were researching.
Right.
So they're just sitting in that fort, and he's basically waiting for Erythia to actually make that death blow so that he can go and commit to fighting, I should say conquering Agartha.
Yeah. Okay. So that's this portion of the world. I don't think there's too much more to say. There's a ping
We
here.
can kind of get a look at Erythia's army. But still no mage support. Okay.
No mage support.
I mean, we know what his mages are doing, right? We saw that research graph.
In Heat 2, this is going to be enough to kill this army, which is, I think, what he was moving here. But
oh, that's right. Yeah, because Atlantis has been sailing around, so he's trying to intercept that. Yeah.
But he's been, he's moving this army to where the army was, not to where it's going. But, who knows where it's going?
Yeah, that's hard.
Okay. And then that brings us to Jomin.
Yeah, worth mentioning the Blood 4 thing. Yeah. So Blood 4, that does actually matter because with the... So if he ever gets a fire random way up, that guy's on full-time Mazelotto duty, right? So, 1 in 40, you get another summoner. His hero can also do summoning, I believe, by handing off the book to someone else and then having the hero do the actual casting. So that gets you up to 4 per turn. And then outside of that, you kind of need to find a fire mage and empower, or find enough fire gems to
summon a flame spirit or something. Yeah.
Empower. So it's very hard for LA Shib to get the Ocelotl count up. But, slow and steady. He's going to start building up some mass.
And I mean, there's a ton of things to do with blood slaves other than Aussies. So
also very true, yeah. I'm personally a big fan of lifelong protections. Like I mentioned, I think last video, I think they're very versatile for Shibalba in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely going industrial at this point. And outside of his little back and forth with Vedheim, which should be pretty much resolved, I would say. I think that, and he's also pretty behind on research. Like we'd mentioned that just because he had been deploying all of his mages, and Whaleb aren't exactly incredible researchers to begin with. Like they're 10 research only in Magic 3 because they have a research malice. He might want to be teching up, especially if you went Blood 4 first. Because you need construction 4, you need some alteration, and then once you have that, then you start going into your really cool mid-game battle stuff like your Wailing Winds for your Kamazots and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks that he deployed all those mages and then didn't really get a cap out of it. So
yeah. Hindsight's 2020 though. I think he I really do think that he was waiting for something before making that headshot, and he just never hit it before he got scared of Vedheim.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've finished everybody now. I think my closing thoughts for this are... I'm going to be interested to see what Agartha does. I feel like... Maragon certainly should have been attacking him already. They're basically dead, but I'm interested to see what they do kind of in their death throes. I wonder if we get to see a cool cap defense from Vanheim, if they have anything they can do, or... Midgard, not Vanheim. I feel like Ulm's pretty boned. I don't really think they can do anything, so I don't have really big hopes there. And then I kind of want to see what Atlantis does, but I don't really know what to expect there.
Yeah, Atlantis's issue in part is that because they've been using their cat mages to sail around, their already kind of poor research has probably not been building up that much. It's literally just the Forgiving Fathers reading books, which means that they're never really going to hit the point where they can cast anything that's going to be swinging battles.
Right.
So it really is just, will Erythia bring enough stuff to go handle that Ghost King?
Yeah.
And then once they do, the war's over.
Yeah. And I think the most hype thing is going to be when we finally have the showdown here between Mictlan and the coalition forces. So.
Yeah, I think if he goes into Gath, we're going to get an extremely bloody fight. We're talking massive casualties on both sides, and either side could actually win that fight. So I think that fight would actually be interesting. I think if he goes into Pan, he's going to get slaughtered.
Yeah. Well, we get to see what happens very soon. So tune back in next time and find out. Take care, everyone.